Have you ever stopped to think that your home is a mirror of society? And that society is just an amplified reflection of what you live within your family. Be authentic wherever you are, at home, at work, or on the street. Consistency is the key to a full life. Discover how integrity transforms challenges into opportunities in this video.
Be as authentic at home as you are outside. The home is a miniature version of society, and society is an extension of what we cultivate in our families. Stay consistent, be dedicated, keep your promises, act with integrity, and maintain a calm demeanor based on confidence in your preparation. Your actions reveal your essence, and what is within your soul is reflected in the world. Today, we will explore how authenticity builds bridges between who we are and what we project. Stay with us for a story that will make you rethink your choices. Now, Apollo will take us on a journey about how integrity can turn challenges into legacies. Don't miss it.
In the quiet of the small restoration workshop, the unmistakable scent of aged wood and fresh varnish floated in the air. The soft late afternoon light filtered through the windows, casting dancing shadows over the tools meticulously arranged on the shelves. Clara's workshop was more than just a physical space. It was a refuge where stories of the past were rescued and renewed, a place where every piece of wood had a legacy to tell. Clara, at 26, was in complete harmony with what she was doing. Her hands, experienced and firm, glided over the surface of a mahogany dresser. The deep cracks and marks of time were like scars from a distant past, but with the promise of a renewed future. She sanded with patience, like someone who understands that beauty lies in the layers that reveal themselves little by little. It wasn't just the furniture she was restoring. It was a philosophy, a way of life. She grew up watching her grandfather, a master in the art of restoration, treat every piece of furniture with an almost reverent care. He always said, "A job well done is a legacy." Clara inherited more than her grandfather's tools, she inherited his values. He didn't just restore furniture, he restored stories. And now in her own workshop, Clara followed that legacy with every move she made, restoring the essence of the pieces, and by extension, the essence of her own being. But the path was not easy. Clara had an audacious dream, to turn her passion for restoration into a solid business. The artisan fairs and small customers who came to her shop already praised her for the authenticity and quality of her work, but she knew that to grow, she would need to face bigger challenges. And it was in one of those moments that she encountered the first great test of her journey. In a meeting with a hotel industry businessman, Clara received a proposal that seemed impossible to refuse. The man wanted her to restore 50 pieces of furniture for the new hotel he was opening. It was a tempting contract, with a considerable value and the promise that the visibility for her work would be immense. But there was one detail that the businessman made clear: she had to cut costs. What he wanted, Clara could only achieve if she used low-quality wood with poor finishing products. It would be a cheap substitution that would compromise the durability and aesthetics of the pieces. Clara felt the weight of the decision tightening her chest. On one hand, the promise of a big contract and a financial flow that could guarantee the expansion of her workshop. On the other, the possibility of betraying the principles her grandfather had taught her, the ethics she carried with such care in every piece she restored. "If I accept this, I will betray everything I believe in," she thought to herself, observing the pieces of mahogany and marquetry around her, waiting to be restored with dignity. The moment of decision arrived, and Clara looked at the dresser that was almost ready, with its imperfections now polished and delicately corrected. Every layer of varnish applied was a layer of love, of care, of respect for the story. She thought of her grandfather's words, "A job well done is a legacy." What would her legacy be if she exchanged the integrity of her materials for an easy solution? "If I lie here, who will I be tomorrow?" With firmness, she refused the proposal. She explained to the businessman that her brand had a high regard for honesty and for this reason could not compromise the quality of her work for financial reasons. He, surprised, tried to convince her in every way, but Clara maintained her convicted and calm, but firm stance. The businessman, though disappointed, left. Clara felt a pang of doubt, as if the weight of the decision had left a mark on her chest. But she knew she had done the right thing. She knew that the true pursuit of greatness was not in easy money, but in strengthening and always maintaining integrity, remaining faithful to the values that guided her. A few weeks later, to her surprise, the businessman returned. But this time, he came with a different look, almost one of admiration. "No one has ever refused money for principles," he said with a smile. "But you showed me that there is value in that. I was wrong." He recommended her for a new project, a grander one and more aligned with the work philosophy that Clara defended. A project where clients valued exactly what she offered: quality, authenticity, and a story of dedication. At the artisan fair that took place shortly after, Clara looked at the dresser in front of her and smiled. Amidst smiles and sales, she realized something simple but profound. Integrity, just like wood, has roots that are unseen, but that sustain everything that is built. And when it is maintained, it will always be more valuable than any price or shortcut. She didn't just restore furniture. Clara restored herself, her confidence, and the certainty that, in the end, whoever keeps their essence intact is always rewarded in some way. After all, what are cracks but marks of time that only reveal the true strength of a well-made piece? Now see what Titus found to back up this story.
Imagine Clara, with her hands stained with sawdust and varnish, in front of the almost finished dresser. The piece of wood, which was once broken and neglected, now gleamed, full of life, after her effort. She could have chosen the easy path, accepting the tempting offer to use cheap materials and guarantee a quick profit. But something in her heart stopped her. It was as if a gentle voice said, "True security is not in money, but in the peace of a clean conscience." The sacred word reminds us in Proverbs chapter 10 verse 9 that says, "Whoever walks in integrity walks securely." Clara knew that integrity was not just a virtue, but a protection. When we act with honesty, the fear of negative consequences disappears, because we know that our decision was made with righteousness. Clara refused the dishonest proposal not out of stubbornness, but because she understood that real security comes from being faithful to herself and her values. Every sanding of the wooden furniture, every layer of varnish applied, represented a vote of faith, not only in her work, but in the belief that righteousness creates a path where opportunism could never arrive. And it was this straight path that made her reflect, later, while looking at the dresser. As Psalms chapter 26 verse 1 says, "Vindicate me, Lord, for I have walked in my integrity, I have also trusted in the Lord, I will not waver." Clara asked herself, if I betray my principles now, who will I be 10 years from now? For Clara, it wasn't about seeking the approval of others, but about the courage to look at herself in the mirror and recognize who she really was. The restored dresser, with its filled cracks and polished wood, was a reflection of her own life, imperfect, but true. Clara was not afraid to be examined by God or by herself. By making decisions with a pure heart, she knew she didn't need to fear judgment. She used integrity as the shield that sustains her. She always remembers that in Colossians chapter 3 verse 23 the Bible says, "Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men." At the artisan fair, Clara wasn't just selling furniture, she was offering pieces of her soul. Each piece carried her dedication, her sweat, and her passion. When she chose the best materials, it wasn't just a choice of quality, but an act of love and devotion. Her work wasn't just labor and wood, it was a prayer in action, a reflection of what she valued most, her integrity. Now, like Clara, we can ask ourselves, do our daily choices reflect what we believe? How do our actions, both big and small, contribute to building the legacy we wish to leave? Integrity is not a burden, but the light that guides our path. Now, Apollo invites us to reflect, how do our daily choices build our character?
Clara's story teaches us that authenticity is not a sacrifice, but an investment. Every choice made with integrity strengthens our identity. Like her, we can transform challenges into opportunities when we act with consistency. The restored dresser is like our life. Each layer of varnish is a decision that defines us. Proverbs teaches us that integrity is more than a simple quality, it is a form of protection. When we act with sincerity, we don't need to fear the repercussions of our decisions. Clara rejected the dishonest proposal not to defy, but because she understood that true security comes from being faithful to herself and her principles. Each treatment on the wood, each filling, each carefully applied layer of varnish, was an action of improvement that we do by believing, not only in our craft, but in the conviction that honesty opens doors that cleverness could never access. The restored piece of furniture, with its flaws now mended, is similar to our life when we live it with integrity, solid, resilient, and full of meaning. It's understandable that the sacred scripture states that whoever lives with integrity walks securely. Clara was able to prove this in practice, the confidence we establish in our daily lives. At a certain point in the narrative, Clara fixes her gaze on the dresser and reflects, if I compromise my convictions at this moment, who will I become in a decade? This inquiry resonates with the psalmist's appeal, who asks God to analyze his inner self, for he trusts in his integrity. There is no arrogance in this, but a sincere humility. Clara did not desire the validation of others. Her wish was to look at herself in the mirror and recognize the person she had always aspired to be. If this video resonated with you, like, subscribe, and activate the bell to not miss our reflections. Your support helps us bring messages of hope. The psalm urges us to make a deep reflection on ourselves. Examine me, Lord, David affirms, aware that his honesty is not free of imperfections, but it is genuine. Just like Clara, we are urged to live in such a way that when we are evaluated by God, He finds a heart that resonates with the truth. The dresser, with its damage and its cracks and wear on the wooden surface repaired and with a beautiful varnish finish, represents this idea. Our imperfections do not define us, but the way we handle them does. Clara chose to fix hers. And don't forget, in the description, there is a sociological focus on authenticity. See you soon. If this story inspired you, there's more to come. On the screen now, the video will take you to another story that occurs in our daily lives. It will deepen how our conscience transforms relationships. We thank you for being a part of Think Strong. Together, we are building a path of wisdom and growth. Until the next time.